the Neon Confidential podcast.
Is this thing on? Mark Shunock, welcome to the Neon Confidential podcast. I was reading your bio for the show notes, and I feel like I really resonate with you as a former athlete and a creative. The Vegas version of Jack of all trades should be Mark of all trades. You are a former hockey player. You're a Broadway star, performing artist and actor. You're a philanthropist with Monday's Dark, MC of Magic Mike Live, host of the Las Vegas Golden Knights and Raiders for a stint, and ring announcer for Top Ring Boxing on ESPN. Is there anything that you don't do?
I don't know. Walk my dogs enough.
I mean, for sure. How do you have time to do anything? You're literally a Mark of all trades. You do it
I like that. Mark of all trades.
And a lot of people in Las Vegas know you as this huge personality, but I want to go back to the very beginning. I want to talk about your life in Canada.
Look,
You're Canadian.
I'm like all...
You're fidgety. You're like, oh God,
now.
what did she dig up?
Uh-oh.
No, I want you to tell me kind of your journey to Las Vegas. How did you get here? How did you get to where you are? I mean, it's inspirational. People that just see you as Mark Shunock, it just looks like you just landed here and all this stuff happened for you. But how did you get to Las Vegas?
That's a great question. The journey to Vegas started with a show called Rock of Ages. So 13 years ago, I got a call saying, hey, Rock of Ages is going to open at the Venetian. You want to go out? And just like anybody else, at that point in my life, I was just acting. I was based in Los Angeles. Cheryl and I were living in LA. And I was pursuing a career. And that's it. And so when you get a call for a gig, you're like, sure, I'll do it. And at that time, I thought I'll do 6 months to a year and go try Vegas. And 13 years later, I'm still here. But Rock of Ages is what brought me to the desert. It was an unbelievable experience. We had an amazing cast and such a fun show. You know, you're singing 80s hits. The Venetian spoiled us. I was there for 3 years doing the show before I went on to do other things in the city. But that's what brought me out, man. I was bartending in LA, you know, pursuing a career in the arts, trying to just get by. And at that time in my life, my career was okay. You know, if you're just acting, sometimes you're working all the time. Sometimes you're not working at all. So at that moment, I got a call and they're like, hey, you want to go to the desert? And I'm like, yeah, let's go.
You're like, I'm not doing shit else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm done making martinis for celebrities.
But you really had, though. Like, you weren't maybe doing anything in LA at that moment. When did The Lion King happen?
Well, without dating myself, that was 17 years ago.
Wow.
I don't want to give my age, but whatever. On my 30th birthday, I joined the company of the Gazelle Tour, which it was called. It was the national tour of The Lion King. And that was my introduction to the United States, really, because at that time, I'd come down from Canada in the mid-90s. I lived in New York City for almost 10 years, and I got really good at subletting my apartment and getting jobs wherever I could. I'd go out to Connecticut, Massachusetts, take tours, but home base was Manhattan.
So when you went on tours for Broadway, you were subletting your apartment as a supplemental income.
Exactly. Cool. You know, I wanted to make sure I had no costs back in the city and I could go on the road, and it was fun at that time. You know, the show would sit for 6 to 9 weeks in a different city. So in we rolled. It was the largest Broadway show on the road at that time. A lot of semi trucks rolling down the freeway and the Lion King logo on it. And I was spoiled. But that was my introduction to the United States, really, because like I mentioned, New York was all I really knew as a young kid who moved from Canada. So I was fortunate. We went all over. Charlotte, North Carolina, Memphis, Tennessee, a lot of major cities through Florida, came to the West Coast. And so it was beautiful. It was a beautiful time. It was challenging learning to live, you know, out of a trunk, essentially. Yeah. You know, one big black case with your life in it, and you're going from city to city. But like I said, 6 to 9 weeks in each town, and it was awesome.
What character were you?
Hakuna Matata.
You're Timon.
Timon. Pumbaa, are you nuts? You're talking about a lion. Lions are going to eat guys like us. But he's so cute and all alone. Yeah, but he's going to get bigger.
This is crazy. I had no idea you could do that.
Yeah, neither could I until they gave me the job. I was like, okay, I guess I'll do this now.
So, but how did you get into acting? When you lived in Canada, were you taking acting classes? Did you always know that you wanted to be in theater, musical theater?
I think I knew I didn't want to go to a traditional 9 to 5. at that time I wanted to play hockey. I was a hockey player. I was a goaltender in the Canadian Hockey League, third string, getting sent around all over the place. And I was young. And at that time, I didn't have the discipline to keep at it. And when I look back on that time, I was 17 years old, living away from home, pursuing a career and trying to figure out how to keep playing. And when I didn't get drafted, I was like, oh, what the heck am I going to do now? I didn't want to go over and play in Europe. That wasn't something that appealed to me. I could have played in minor leagues if I wanted to. That didn't really appeal to me. I wanted to be, playing for the best. And so I was like, I don't know what else to do. Finished school, moved to New York, and my parents were like, oh, okay, sure, give it a shot. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think I'd be where I am today. I think we can all say that about our parents. Not everybody, but if it wasn't for their support and their just willingness to accept my crazy ideas, I wouldn't be where I am.
So did you move out to New York by yourself?
Yeah. They dropped me off. They came down with me, and I enrolled in an acting school that didn't even provide housing. Like, there was no dorm.
Amazing.
So I lived at the Y.
They're like, just figure it out.
Yeah, just figure it out. And so I had a room above a YMCA on the Upper East Side, the DeHirsch residence above the 92nd Street Y. And so I lived there for an entire year.
Do you feel like at this age you could do something like that now?
Yes, if I didn't have my dogs. I'm a big dog guy. And
What kind of dogs do you have?
I have a Doberman.
Oh, cool.
A Doodle, and a Chihuahua.
Awesome.
I've got a pack.
Of all sizes, literally.
Yeah, 3 different sizes. Prior to that, we had labs. So my life kind of revolves around them.
Yeah, I can totally relate with that.
And lint rollers.
Yeah, and lint rollers. Yeah. That you saw my English master when you walked in.
He's bigger than I am.
Yeah, she's huge.
She.
And everyone does that. Everyone thinks she's a boy because, it's just, she's like a masculine, giant looking dog. I just went to Colorado this past weekend, and anywhere where I can take her, that's where I'm going. Like, I didn't fly there. I just, threw her in the...
We bought a van. During the pandemic, we bought one of those Sprinter vans that are converted into motorhomes. So if I don't have to fly, I don't fly. I fly enough for work.
You guys camp in it? Do you go hiking and all that? You take
all the above.
Fun hikes?
All the above.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Going back to when you were in New York, so how long were you out there until you got your gig in Lion King? What kind of acting were you doing?
Yeah, everything. You name it, I would do it.
Like commercials?
Television commercials, tons of TV commercials. Back when TV commercials were actually very lucrative.
What's the most memorable or weirdest commercial that you took a gig for?
Oh, man. I remember, because of my hockey ability, this was back when Comedy Central first started. I was almost like a Fry Guy character in a costume because I could skate around. I did something like that goofy. But the Olive Garden had a big campaign. I was part of the Olive Garden campaigns back in the day because when you're here, you're family, So there's some weird commercials out there that I was a part of. But like I said, back then, they were tracked really well. The royalties and the residuals off of them could literally cover your living expenses for a year. You could make $100,000 off a TV commercial back then.
No way.
Yeah.
And it's not like that anymore?
I don't know. I don't do enough of them. But yeah, back then, they would, every time your commercial would air, it would be worth a certain amount of money. And, over the course of 6 months, if that thing ran, you've watched television, for sure. You see the same commercial every commercial break, right?
Yeah.
Every time that happens back then, it was worth something. And so I would see my commercial on during a football game and I'd be like, woo, $500.
That's really not a bad gig though. You're just getting like residual income from
doing it. It's a great gig.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We have to understand too, the outside perception of actors, they sometimes associate with celebrity, right? And there are so many incredible actors who work as actors who are not celebrities, but that's what they do for a living, and they make $100,000 a year, $250,000 a year. They're not household names, and that's what I was back then. I was just this kid who had a working attitude. I would go out and just bust my ass and book whatever I can book. Even to this day, the celebrity side of things really never comes into play. It's always, I just want to work in the business, and I think that's why I'm still doing it. Is because I was doing it for the right reasons. I just wanted to work. I loved the craft. I loved ripping scripts apart and becoming a character.
Well, and that too, if you're doing a Lion King on Broadway, then you had a costume on, so people couldn't necessarily recognize you, which is probably really nice.
It was great.
So you're like reaping all of the pay for being a paid actor, but no one recognizes you. It's like the dream. You know what I mean?
It was fun.
That's got to get annoying. But now here in Vegas, people recognize you, right? I mean,
Yeah, I'm the Golden Knights host, right? So I'll go out and people will be like, hey, you're the Golden Knights guy. Yeah, it is what it is. I love hockey. I'm honored to play a small role with that franchise. I've worked with the team since before it was a team, when we had a Vegas Wants hockey campaign. So I've been a part of the Vegas Golden Knights hockey story for over a decade now.
But how did you get involved in that? Everyone who's listening, if there's most people live in Vegas, but there's some people that listen that are from out of state.
You're lying.
And even out of country. I actually just looked at our metrics.
You don't have listeners outside of this city block. Now that I'm on, people just deleted the whole show. They unsubscribed.
People want to know how you got to where you are. When we first got the Vegas Golden Knights, that was such a big deal because it was right after October 1 just happened, which was yesterday. And it felt like the Golden Knights saved people's lives. It's like they were playing for the city. So how did you get involved with that? If you were part of the association before they even were here?
Yeah, I was sitting in my dressing room at the Venetian, 7:15. I'm looking at my TV in my dressing room, and Bill Foley goes on the news and says, I want to bring a pro hockey team to Vegas. And I'm literally in my 80s outfit ready to go on stage. And I said, this guy's full of shit. So the next day, the crazy guy that I am, I literally cold called Fidelity Financial. And I said, my name's Mark Shunock. I'm an entertainer in town. I'm from Canada. My family has history in hockey. My dad has a junior franchise in the Canadian Hockey League. And so I just called the office and I said, look, how can I help? I would love to help. Hold the phone. And so they transfer me to a guy by the name of Todd Pollock, who was the first and only employee at the time dedicated to the hockey team. And he goes, are you in Rock of Ages? I said, yeah. He goes, I bring my dates to your show all the time. You're funny. How do you want to help? And I just told him my story. I said, look, I played the game. I'm from Canada. I would love to just get involved. And so I joined the Vegas Wants Hockey Committee. It was my job to call you and be like, hey, I need $1,000. For what? A hockey team. Which one? Doesn't exist yet, but don't worry, it's refundable. And so we sold 14,000 season ticket deposits in about a year.
Wow.
Took that information back to the league, and the rest is history. Bill Foley wrote a check. He was granted a franchise. And then I thought it was done. I was like, great, I'm going to go back to doing what I do. They hired a front office. They called me and said, hey, would you be interested in becoming one of our hosts? So went in and had an audition process, got the gig. And then that's literally what changed my life in terms of trajectory. The acting took a back seat. And now I work full-time in sports as a host for ESPN and Top Rank and other outlets. Like you mentioned, I dabbled with the Raiders for a couple of seasons.
So you're like the voice of Vegas sports.
Oh, no, I wouldn't go that far.
I would. Everyone at the games recognizes you.
Golden Knights, yes.
For Golden Knights, but then Raiders, and then now Top Rank for ESPN. So talk about that game.
So Top Rank is a boxing promotional company, and all of their fights are broadcast on ESPN. In season 1 of the Golden Knights, their owner was at a hockey game and said, who's that guy? And that's how it happened. And so CAA Sports in Hollywood gave me a call, said, hey, would you be interested in meeting with Top Rank Boxing on ESPN? And I said, sure, let's have a meeting. And so they do about 30 weeks a year of programming. So 30 fights, 30 fight cards a year. So I'm on the road a lot. I host their press conferences on Thursday, their weigh-ins on Friday, and then I do all the ring announcing for Top Rank on Saturday.
That's out of Los Angeles.
It's across the country. So it could be in California, it could be here at T-Mobile, or...
Does your wife go with you?
On the cool trips. We just had a fight last week at Madison Square Garden, right? So when we get the chance to go back to New York, she's a full-time actor. That's her profession. So anytime I get a fight back at MSG, it's a week trip. We add a day at the top and one at the back, and we see a lot of shows. We see a lot of friends. So there are perks to playing great cities.
And how did you and your wife meet? Because I went
on stage.
On stage, I figured. So I went to Monday's Dark, which will be the next thing we talk about. This will be a good segue. She sang a song on stage, and I was like, they're literally the perfect couple. I couldn't.
Yeah, she's a rock star. She's a rock star. She keeps me in check too, but our relationship is super dynamic, and it's yin and yang. We're like opposites, but we're not. And at the end of the day, every relationship, you just have to have an understanding of your needs and wants and respect those, right? And there has to be a little give and take. And so it was challenging, but we've been together. I don't want to screw this up, but I think we met in 03 or 04.
What stage did you share? So 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years ago, we were doing a workshop of a new piece. So, that's a lot of our careers as actors is we try new things and we help writers create their projects. And so we got hired to do a workshop of a piece in Los Angeles, and we call it a showmance, right? We met on stage, started dating, and then the show finished and we continued dating. And so literally it's 20 years this coming year. We'll be married 13, so it like any relationship, it has its ups and downs. But the great thing about us is that we've been together so long that, when I was talking about being a bartender, she was with me when we were broke.
Right.
Like when your career is not flying and you don't get an acting job for 6 to 12 months, that becomes troubling for a lot of people in the industry, right? Because they start to question what they're doing. When you're with somebody that long and they see you at the bottom and they see at the top and then back in the middle and back to the bottom, they're on that roller coaster with you. That's a pretty deep connection.
I was going to say that's a really hard bond to break.
Yeah, I don't think anything can break that kind of bond, to be quite honest, right? Like you can have some pretty big hiccups in your relationship, but at the end of the day, you understand who that person is on a level that nobody else does.
That's really special. So now let's talk about Monday's Dark, because unless you've been living under a rock in Vegas, everybody knows what Monday's Dark is. You guys, I'll kind of give like a brief synopsis. You can do it better than me. But you guys have this huge waiting list of people. So you put on a variety show. Tickets are $20, and all the proceeds are donated to a charity. Like I said, there's a waiting list of charities. And how much money have you all raised so far?
Millions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we do is every other Monday, not every Monday, but twice a month, we do a variety show. I host it. There's a full band, and it's always for a cause. So we never repeat a local nonprofit. And our goal is always to raise $10,000 in 90 minutes, charging $20. So we get about 300 people in the room, 350, sometimes 400. But we raise $10,000 for a different nonprofit every other Monday. We never repeat. And it's just our way of giving back to the city that has given so much to us, right? And it started quickly. We're going to celebrate 11 years this December.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
insane.
It's insane. And again, I moved here 13 years ago. To have your sort of grasp on the city and what it means to you that early on in a relationship with the city you're living in is pretty cool. Rock of Ages was that important to me as an entertainer, as a performer. I was like, ooh, cool, I got this great gig. I almost felt obligated. I did feel obligated to give back because I was given this incredible opportunity to perform on the Strip night in and night out. I was doing okay. We're not retiring off of that job, but as somebody who had this up and down career, when you get something special as an artist, it's like, hey, I'm receiving, I got to give. And so it started quickly. And
not a lot of people feel that way. That's also something that's like you've taken this show business situation and turned a spotlight onto people who need more help through your platform. The other thing is Monday's Dark. That's typically the day that shows in Las Vegas are dark, and so that the performers aren't performing. Where did that brainchild come from? You're like, wait, all these performers aren't performing on Mondays. We're going to make it perform on Mondays.
The name comes from the fact that the Broadway schedule was traditionally dark on Monday, right? That's a New York, East Coast thing. When I was in the business in the 90s, early 2000s, that was a traditional schedule where Monday was always dark. Now the schedules are all over the place. Sometimes they take a Wednesday night off. They have analytics, people that are much smarter than I am saying, there's more tourists in town on this day. We're having a show on Monday. So it's changed since we started, but you are right. That is where the name came from. We were following a dark schedule on Monday. And so I was like, look, on our night off, let's give back. It started because in Vegas, you know this better than anybody, we're red carpet happy, right? And we'll roll out a red carpet for the opening of Applebee's in Summerlin.
Yep.
And we would have to, as entertainers on the Strip, we would get invited to make an appearance at all of these events. We couldn't even stay. So I would have to go to the Venetian at 5 o'clock, put on my costume, walk a red carpet, wherever the event may be, and then I'd have to come back to the theater and perform. And I was like, this is stupid. I know we're serving a purpose for the nonprofit by showing up and they can have pictures to say, look, the cast of Rock of Ages was at our event. We weren't really at the event. We were there before the event started to take a picture so that you could use it in your post recap. And so I said to myself one day, I was like, there's got to be a better way for us to give back. And so I told our publicity firm at the time who was handling the show, I was like, look, I don't know that I want to do this anymore. It's 3 hours before the show, and I'm really not enjoying it, and I don't know anything about the nonprofit. To the point when, towards the end of doing them, I would make a financial donation just because I felt guilty that I had to leave. So I would buy a ticket or something, and I was like, this is bizarre. So I stopped doing the appearances and just started doing Monday's Dark. And instead of latching on, a lot of personalities, celebrities will latch on to a cause and say, hey, I want to put water in third world countries. Great. And that's their mission. I couldn't really identify with one that made my heart flutter and go, okay, I just want to focus on animal rescues. I love dogs. So I said, you know what, let's just never repeat a nonprofit. Let's not discriminate. Let's help everybody. So in the 11 years we've been doing this in Vegas, we've partnered with over 200 local nonprofits. They've all received $10,000. They all receive a ton of awareness and, posts on social saying, hey, Monday's Dark's going to help this cause. And it's turned into this just sort of well-oiled machine.
That's $2 million. You guys have raised over $2 million.
Yeah, over $2 million
for charities. Yeah. Was it slow to start?
Of course. Yeah, like when you start anything new, I would have to call nonprofits and explain what I wanted to do, right? Like I'm like, hey, I'm a goofy kid in Rock of Ages. I'm having a party on Monday night. I want to give you all the money. Can you help us? Just spread the word for your cause. And they were like, who are you? What do you want to do? And that's how it started. And now the narrative is flipped. And I even had to get in entertainers to understand what I wanted them to do on their night off. And so now it's completely the opposite, where you mentioned it earlier. We have a wait list of over 300 local nonprofits that want to party with us. And all the entertainers, when we reach out and say, hey, we're doing an 80s night, which we're doing, we know who to ask, right? Because that sort of theme fits their vibe as a performer. We'll do a Rat Pack night. We'll do a Motown night. We'll do whatever. So now the performers are all on board. They're like, hey, this is great. Yes, it's our night off. Yes, I'm donating my time and talent, but they're getting put in front of an audience, both in the room, and we live stream these things. And so we plug their shows, right? And I'm Anchorman, and I want to do them a service. So I'm like, if they're going to show up and perform, I'm going to brag about who they are, what show they're in, when you can see them, go buy a ticket.
Which is great, because as an audience member, every Monday's Dark I've been to, there's undoubtedly been, 2 or 3 performers who I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And then I want to go see their show after that. So you're seeing new music, new entertainers, and then you're also learning about a charity. The only time that I went to Monday's Dark because there was a charity was when I was doing the PR for Nevada Fertility Advocates. And you guys put so much work into the production of the video that plays to the audience. It was like a 5-minute video. And I was literally thinking in my head, is with my PR hat on, you just get it. Like, you scripted it right. You introduced it the right way. You're telling everybody about this charity so you can feel good about going to see music. Like, that's just, it's literally genius.
We get serious for about, like you said, 3 to 5 minutes at the top of the show. We always play a video about the why. Why are we here tonight on this Monday night? It's for this cause. And then after that, it's a shit show. You never know what's going to happen. It's clearly an adult, driven thing. My mouth is potty. I say things at Monday's Dark that I only wish I could say at a Golden Knights game or on ESPN.
I can't believe that you haven't cursed once yet.
Oh, I'm sure it's slipped out. The producers at the arenas are so good that they know exactly where I'm going before I even do it. So they'll be muting my microphone. But no, it hasn't happened yet. Knock on wood.
When you're on stage and you're introducing these charities, what kind of performers are there? Like, name some performers that you've had.
You name it.
On stage.
You name it. If they live and breathe Vegas and they work here, they show up. We just had Wayne Newton at our last. I'm like, come on. Shania Twain showed up unannounced at one of our bigger anniversary events. Go the other direction, right? We have singers who sing in the pit at Cirque du Soleil, right? Like, they just happen to be an incredible talent. You never see their face. They're just up in a booth singing. They come out and sing. All of our musicians that play in our band, all are donating their time and talent. They're musicians that play with all of our headliners on the Strip. We get top-notch celebrity appearances, and we get just the run-of-the-mill people like myself who are just having a career and entertaining. But They all love it. We love having them. Personally, I'm so grateful that the project has been embraced by the community the way it has. We're not household by any means, but in the philanthropic space, in the nonprofit space, we are. The wait list speaks for itself.
The 10-year anniversary, because there's so many people who show up for these anniversary parties. I mean, you guys fill up your normal showroom. You said it's like 300 seats. But last year, for your 10-year anniversary, you went to the Palms Theater. How many people did that seat?
2,000.
And it was full.
Yeah. We're going to do it again in December. So that's sort of been our MO since we started, is we do every other Monday, $10,000 out the door. And then in December, we call it our anniversary event. We celebrate all of the nonprofits that we partnered with throughout the year. And on that night, we announce the nonprofits that we're going to partner with next year. So our board of directors in August of this year gets the list. And we say, hey guys, here you go. Rip it apart. And we pick 21 nonprofits a year. So we do 21 parties a year. They get the list in August, and then we announce their selections publicly for the first time in December. So this year, it's Monday, December 9th at the Pearl Theater at the Palms. We will party with 21 charities that we partnered with in 2024, and we'll announce the 21 charities that we'll partner with in 2025. So we'll have 42 local nonprofits in one room, not competing with each other, all celebrating their association to Monday's Dark and their amazing causes. And we throw a badass, you were there last year and we'll do it again this year.
Everybody should Uber. I was actually
definitely Uber.
I was actually sober last year, so I got to see how drunk everyone got, and I vividly remember it because I wasn't on everyone's level. But this year I will go and I will Uber because I am drinking.
Definitely Uber.
It's a huge party. Everyone's having so much fun. It's literally genius what you've done here. So then let's talk about the space, which is where you have Monday's Dark when it's not the anniversary party.
Yeah.
You guys have hosted Emmy winners. You've hosted all sorts of performers that are there. What other kind of events take place at the space?
Yeah. So the space was, an offshoot or sort of an oops because of Monday's Dark. Monday's Dark started at the Hard Rock Hotel in Vinyl. And one day I just woke up and I was like, man, we're bringing 450 people to the Hard Rock on a Monday night. And I was like, we've got something going here.
I remember that. It was like standing room only.
It was awesome.
When there was nowhere to sit.
Yeah, and that's how it is, right? And so when we decided, I took a leap of faith. I was like, let's open our own venue. And at that time, it was just to support twice a month, 2 Mondays a month, and that's it. Little crazy. I was like, let's just open a venue and only open twice a month. But that's how it started. We opened the space to be the home of Monday's Dark. And what ended up happening was exactly what you were saying. 400 people would cram in to see the Monday's Dark event on Monday night. By Wednesday or Thursday of that week, we would have probably 15 emails saying, hey, I was at Monday's Dark. Can my band play here? Can I have my wife's 40th birthday party here? Can my dad's office meeting take place here? So the space became much more popular than Monday's Dark quickly because it's a venue. It's a facility. It's a state-of-the-art warehouse that we converted to an event space. So now the space is 8 years old, and we're open 3 to 5 nights a week with concerts, bat mitzvahs, fashion shows, corporate buyouts, weddings, small wedding receptions, you name it. Because it is a really funky, unique venue that we always say yes to. Like we have rules, but if you walked in and said, hey, can I put a couch over there and have a bachelorette party? Sure. I mean,
it's set up perfectly. There's a stage. There's always catering for Monday's Dark. So it's a really cool space.
What started out as just an opportunity to create a home, a community center for the Monday's Dark program, quickly evolved into a ton of things. And a lot of the stuff that we do there, we don't talk about, right? There are a lot of community programs. So, for example, Life by Music is an amazing nonprofit. We're partnering with them next year. We haven't announced it yet, so that's some inside skinny, but they teach veterans how to play the guitar to deal with their PTSD. And so those classes take place in our venue for free, essentially, or a small fee. We have Alzheimer's support group meetings. We hosted Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. We have so many programs that happen out of the space because of all of our nonprofit partners. Those aren't things we brag about or publicize because they don't need to be publicized, right? Like they don't need to be on a website. Click here to come to an Alzheimer's support group meeting. That's not why the facility is front facing, but we're proud of all of those things that happen on the DL essentially, because we have this sort of deep-rooted or organic connection with our community because of all of the charities that we've supported. So one of the perks we throw them after they become a Monday Start partner is they can use the facility for a year for free for any of their fundraising needs.
Wow.
So the space is busy, and almost everything we do in the facility has a connection to our community in some form of give back, even on the entertainment side. So last year we partnered with Life is Beautiful, and we had a battle of the bands for only local bands. And the winner of that battle of the bands got a 30-minute slot on the Rolling Stone stage. That's something we're proud of, right? Especially as an artist, because we can cultivate a music scene out of our facility for no cost. And then these young bands, these young kids get to play a venue that's actually legit. They're not in somebody's backyard. They're not playing a mediocre sound system. They're playing a state-of-the-art room. They look and sound amazing. We can shoot the concert for them, give them all that content. And they walk away going, I'm a rock star. So
I don't know if anybody could have done this except for you. Do you feel like you are where you're supposed to be? Or are you like, I want more? What you've cultivated is just so huge. No one could have done this but you. It literally is a perfect fit. You know, do you feel that way?
I don't know. I've never really thought of that. I think, again, going back to what we were talking about, bartender Mark, I just wanted to be able to work in the industry and call myself a working actor, a working entertainer. That was always my goal, was to earn a living in this business we call entertainment. And I was determined, because if I compared what I'm doing now to when I was a young kid trying to pursue a hockey career, I didn't have the discipline nor the knowledge in order to do it. And I think that's a big challenge we see in sports, right? Is these are kids. We sometimes forget when we watch pro sports, most of those men and women that we're watching are kids, and they still haven't even matured in a way that we have when you reach a certain age, right? So that's something that I to this day carry with me, and I think that provides sort of an internal patience button that I push, so that when I'm observing things or I'm dealing with certain business opportunities, it's always very, not cautious, but very strategic. I don't like to rush anything. And I've been very fortunate that what I have gotten involved in and attached my name to or put my energy behind, successful is not the right word, but fruitful, right? Where it's for the right reasons. And I think that's something that I'm most proud of. I've never taken a job or a gig just because. When I was younger and somebody said, hey, you're going to do this Olive Garden commercial. It's like, woohoo. Now I'm in a position where I can really strategize and plan next steps. And I'm nowhere near done. I'm thinking of retirement. Like, you get to that sort of midlife age where you're like, okay, I got to start planning for not working as hard as I am right now. But I love working. That is one thing that if there was a flaw in my DNA, I work too much, but I thrive on it. I love it. If I don't have a full calendar, I think I'm off. I'm like, what's going on today?
You explained this much better than I did. I said this on a previous episode where I feel like if I'm not rushing around, that like my life isn't like firing like I like, because I'm the same way as you. I love what I do, and I love being busy at what I do. So it flips this switch.
I don't like the rushing. No, I like being busy.
That's what I'm saying. You described it better than me.
But I like to have the chill busy, where I know where I need to be and when. And I've gotten better at saying no. As I've moved into my late 40s now, it's become easier to say no.
Go off on that a little bit, because I'm also like very bad at that, or I've gotten better at it is what I should say. But explain the importance of saying no to things that aren't a fit.
I think it's time, right? Like, as I've gotten older, and we've all dealt with tragedy in some way. I lost a lot of friends over the last couple of years that are gone way too soon. And, I'm 48 years old, and I don't feel 48. I feel 19 some days. However, time has become a 4-letter word that I should probably tattoo somewhere on my body, because even when you look at your watch, it's now an automatic, it triggers something for me now where I'm like, hey, this is not a guarantee. Tomorrow is not a guarantee. And I carry that with me 24/7.
Do you think that way because of the friends that you've lost? Like you understand the value of time, of life, that nothing's guaranteed tomorrow? I
think so. It's the tragedies that we go through as human beings. It's your eyesight starting to go, oh, I need readers, and your thinning hairline, and you're like, what is going on? This is not supposed to happen to me. And it starts to happen to you. And then you're like, hey, do I really need to do that today? Nah, I'm good. I'm going to sit right here on my couch with my dog and work on some projects and stay home. And so time is the thing for me. It's not guaranteed. I only have so much of it. So I want to make sure that even being here with you, it's an hour and 20 minutes of my day. So it has to be something that moves the needle for me and you, because you're sharing this time with me right now. And I take a deep breath. I take a step back now with everything that comes my way. And there are cool opportunities on the horizon that I'm really excited to dive deep into. And that's another thing. If I'm going to do it, you're going to get 100% of me. That goes without saying. But as you take on more, other things need to go away. And that's just life, right? Sometimes it's hard to leave something to do something else because you're so passionate and committed to it that those are some of the toughest choices that I've had to make. And those are great things to have to deal with, right? Like, especially in the entertainment industry, when you have choice and you have opportunity, I don't take that for granted, and it's humbling.
That part about what you said, if you say yes to everything and you can't show up 100% to everything, how do you say no to something that you know is just either it's not a fit, the time isn't as valuable, your time's more valuable, like you said, recharging on your couch with your dogs? Or is it just no as a complete sentence and you just let it lie?
No. There's usually a much long, like if it's by text, which everybody likes to text nowadays, I sometimes over text and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm wishing you nothing but the best. And
I knew you were going to say that because you said when you would show up to the red carpets, you would feel bad if you couldn't, you would make a donation anyway. So that's why I'm just so curious to get into like how you go about saying no, because it is hard, especially for people living in a city like Las Vegas. I mean, really anywhere, there's a lot going on, but especially in Vegas, there's something going on every single night. Yeah. And especially for creative people, it can really drain you if you don't have time to recharge your batteries. I know that's how I am.
You got to sleep. You got to be able to turn it off. You know, I'm fortunate that the no's that I'm now giving are usually based on my calendar. So I'm not lying to you. I'm just not available, right? Like Top Rank has me 25 to 30 weeks a year. The Vegas Golden Knights are 41 home games, not including playoffs. So, you know, right there, that's 3/4 of my year booked. So if you do see me at a charity event, hosting a charity event, or doing a Monday's Dark, or, you know, showing up to something, it's usually for the right reasons. It's a cause that's near and dear to my heart, or it's a personal relationship with somebody within that organization.
As a busy person, how do you relax? How do you unwind?
You know, just distractions, right? I like plants. That
is not what I thought you were going to say, but I'd like to hear more.
There's a random one that I just sort of let you peek behind the curtain if you come to our house. So our home has a lot of windows. I don't like curtains. I don't like blinds. So the entire back half of our home is just glass.
Same.
I don't like anything on windows. So I want, you have these beautiful glass doors and things. I'm like, let people see them. I want to see them every day. I want to know where I live. And so with that comes light.
Exactly.
And so when the sun comes up, I have a lot of plants.
Oh, okay.
So I just started one day. I was like, oh, this is a cute little plant. And then just like my dogs, I care for the plant. And that plant, I probably have 20 plants.
Do you name them? I know.
No, I don't name them.
I can't. I thought you were going to say yes. I'm like, no, you sound very.
But you know what's great now is my wife will be out. Maybe she'll be at Home Goods, right? Every woman goes to Home Goods. And she'll come home with like plant daddy toys. She'll have this like really cool vintage sprayer for the leaves. And so she knows that my hobby is plants. She'll come home. I'll have the vacuum out and pruning things, and I'm in my boxers, and I'm like, hey, with a coffee, and I'm like trimming plants.
But that's how you relax. It's like something
I guess plants are my thing.
I feel like it's a passive thing that if you take care, you bring life to
nurture.
something. It's
Yeah.
nice.
It's nurture.
Yeah, that's a nice little
Dogs,
give and
plants.
take.
It's great. It's what everybody's going to take away from this interview.
It will,
hey, that guy
100%.
Shunock, he likes plants.
I'm like, pull that clip for TikTok.
He's growing pot in his house.
I thought when you said plant, I was
No.
like, is that code word for marijuana?
No.
I was like, how do you relax? You're like, plants. I'm like, he smokes weed.
No, gummies. I can be honest now. It's legal. I sometimes have to take an edible. Wild is the brand.
I just picked some up yesterday at Thrive.
If Wild is listening,
yeah,
please send me some product. Yeah, I take
too, please,
I take a gummy, and then you know what I do is I turn on the news. I don't watch the news out of habit. I just do it to put myself to sleep. So I'll take a gummy and watch CNN or Fox for a few minutes and pass out.
Because you mentioned that you have to sleep earlier, I thought I got to ask him about his sleep hacks. Is that your sleep hack? Just
Yeah, if I can't turn my brain off, like I said, I'll take a Wild edible and I'll call it a night.
I do it every single night because I cannot turn my brain off.
That's good.
I've done some research on like how CBD, CBN kind of affects you. And I did some A/B testing on like my Whoop strap to see how it affects my sleep. And I dialed it in to the perfect cocktail.
Yeah, that's great.
CBD, CBN, THC.
I don't even
quarter.
need the CBD or CBN. I just get a
Good old fashioned
indica gummy. You know, indica in the couch.
And a couch. That's how I remember it.
You know who taught me that? My nephew. That tells you you're getting old when, you know, uncle is learning something from his nephew. Oh, Uncle Mark, no, you need indica in the couch. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, no, don't take the sativa, man. You get high.
Anyone who's listening, that's how you'll remember it from now on.
Indica, CBD, or THC is in the couch.
You're right. And so that's your sleep hack. That's kind of how you relax.
Yeah, if I need to fall asleep and turn my brain off, yes. And what's cool is like when I do take a gummy, there's no side effects when you wake up. Like I feel ready to rock and roll. I do have to have my coffee. I usually have 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and it's iced, just black iced coffee. I brew it, put it in the fridge, and then I pour a big glass of iced coffee in the morning, sit out in the yard for 10 minutes with the dogs, get some sun, and then it's on. And my day is pretty full.
We literally have very similar routines. That's exactly mine. Mm-hmm. But is that Dutch Bros that you brought with you?
No, this is your local company next door.
Bungalow?
Bungalow
is the best. What's your coffee order at Bungalow? What'd you get?
Black iced coffee.
I do an Americano, and then I just get them to add sugar-free vanilla to it. I don't do any creamer.
And then, but at home, I even hate plugging this company because they don't need any of my love, but Tim Hortons. So being a Canadian, Tim Hortons is the Dunkin' Donuts of Canada. There's one on every other corner. And so I bring it in, and we have bags of Tim Hortons coffee in the freezer.
They can't ship it here? You go there and bring it back?
You can buy it here now. Like it's in grocery stores here now.
What was it like growing up in Canada? I think a lot of things that people don't realize, because I'm from Texas, I've been to Banff. So I thought that was what everywhere in Canada looked like. I thought there were these cute little quaint towns and everyone skis. And I thought that's what it was. There's some like cowboys in Canada.
Oh yeah. Alberta, you know, Banff, Alberta, where you went. If Calgary has the largest, we call them rodeos in the United States, but in Calgary, it's the Calgary Stampede. It's one of the largest rodeos in North America, maybe the country, maybe the world, to be quite honest. Massive. A lot of cowboys in Alberta. I grew up in Ontario, north of Michigan, right on the border, right on Lake Superior. Everybody who lives in Canada lives within a 100-mile radius of the United States border. So when you look on the map and you look on you see the size of Canada, everybody lives 100 miles within the U.S. border. So we have this huge land mass that is Canada, but nobody lives up there. It's too cold. Mm-hmm. But I grew up in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, which is Hockey Town, Canada. If Detroit, Michigan is Hockey USA, Sault Ste. Marie is Hockey Canada. Just an iconic small town, 70,000 people, a steel mill, a hockey team, and just an incredible community. And, I grew up in a time where there was no internet, no cell phones. So, I was outside enjoying growing up in a very safe, loving community. I was in the bush playing in forts and building things. And I'm young enough to enjoy the technology advancements that we all reap the benefits of, but I also am old enough to have grown up in a non-digital age.
Yeah, I'm 36, and I also remember that, just being able to play outside. And but I guess cell phones didn't come out until I was into junior high, because people had pagers in junior high. So actually, it was maybe my first year of high school. Yeah, I did too. Like, how silly is that shit?
When I first moved to New York City, it was 1995, 96. Cell phones weren't a thing yet. They were on the cusp. And the way you got in touch with your agent or got auditions was you had a pager.
And then you had to go find.
And then I carried a bag of quarters, and I would stand in line in New York City. These are pictures you can Google, kids. You can see people standing in line on the street in New York City to get to a payphone. And so there was banks of payphones all over the place in Manhattan.
And at the airports.
Yeah. And so I would get on a payphone. I would call this is so stupid. I'd put a quarter in the phone to call my pager to hear a voicemail that says, call your agent. And I put another quarter in to call my agent, and they would give you the details of your audition and where to be. But everything back then was, you'd have to have physical pictures printed with your resume. A bike messenger would come to your apartment and pick it up and bicycle it to a casting director's office. The casting director would look at the picture and go, okay, yeah, we'll see Mark for this role. The casting director would then call your agent. Your agent would page you. It was bananas.
And you had to pay attention to where you were going, because there was no, like, you could look it up on maybe MapQuest when dial-up was new, but like you had to know where you were going. Like you couldn't just like...
Do you remember the Thomas Guide?
Oh yeah. The TomTom.
Yeah. Well, no. The Thomas Guide was a book. Oh. It was the thickness of a major city's phone book, but it was a map. Mm-hmm. And every page was a different neighborhood in Los Angeles, or the Thomas Guide.
We had an orange one in Texas. It was like a big, thick orange book with just maps. And then if you told someone you had to show up somewhere, that seems mind-blowing, because like you're like, okay, leaving my house. Okay, see you there. But you would literally just make a plan and be like, hey, meet me here at 6. And like you would meet that person there at 6. And if he didn't show up, then something was wrong.
Yeah, we're kind of spoiled now with technology, I think. But it's for the better. Man, come on. We live in a special time, and things are changing so quickly. And I just love the technology that allows us to live a better life. Everything that we do on our end, like my wife and I, is just all about ease and making sure it serves a purpose. That's really the basis of our existence now as we've gotten older. We focus on Monday's Dark. We focus on making sure that we're giving back to our community, and we let the chips fall where they may. And we're going to try and help steer those chips in the next couple of years to make sure that, like I said, the 10-year plan is now a thing, where when you're younger, there really isn't that plan, but there's definitely a 5 to 10-year plan for me now, and an exit strategy. So
that's a really good takeaway, though, is just to make sure everything that you do serves a purpose. I think that's why it gets a little bit easier to say no to things as you get older. There was a time when, I had to be everywhere. Yep. You kind of have to when your career starts, and I'm sure the same is for you.
Of course.
I think as everyone gets older, it gets hard to kind of break that cycle and say no to stuff. So that's a good takeaway.
Yep.
Just make sure it's serving a purpose. December 9th, 11-year anniversary from Monday's Dark. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell everybody where they can find you, Monday's Dark.
Yeah, mondaysdark.com. It's Monday with an S. mondaysdark.com. On social media at Monday's Dark. My social is just my name, Mark Shunock. You can figure out how to spell it. But yeah, follow Monday's Dark, follow the space. Everything we do serves our community. We're going to have some big announcements at the anniversary in December. 2025 is going to be a special year for the organization. Tons of big things in the works. We really want to change the landscape on how people think about giving their time and their money, because I think they both carry the same weight. And that's something that people need to recognize. We've sort of ingrained that into our team at Monday's Dark, is that you don't have to be a deep-pocketed millionaire to impact your community. You really don't. And Monday's Dark is walking that walk, right? And talking that talk. Yep. We charge $20. Anybody can come to our shows. And if you can't afford $20, you message us and you come to the show. Like, it's just as easy as that. Like, we don't care. We just want bodies in the room. We want them to learn about the organization that we're focused on that night and supporting. And what ends up happening is all of the Mondays Dark supporters learn about a new nonprofit every other Monday, and they become supporters of that nonprofit as well. So mondaysdark.com, December 9th is our big 11th anniversary. 2,000 people will be at the Palms. Uber.
I think we'll end it on that. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah.
Mark of all trades, y'all.
Thanks for having me.